What's up, guys? We are back with another Mythic Legions Necronominus wave review, taking a look at one of the good guys, one of the knights this time around, and we have got Sir Elijah on deck today. I'm really excited about this guy. There's a lot about him in particular that I'm really curious about in comparison to, say, Gideon or Adalric. Now, we've got him here, of course, in standard Legion-style packaging. He's a regular figure, so you got him there in the window with all of his stuff. You've got a faction card on one side, you've got a bio on the other, and then the back of the package, as is typical for this line, gives you a nice, beautiful shot of some Nate Barch artwork with cross-sell for this wave as well as our write-up. So yeah, let's do it. Let's pull him out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our Mythic Legions Sir Elijah, a figure that, at least for me, a little bit anyway, is kind of a sleeper in this wave because compared to, say, Gideon or even Adalric, this guy kind of pales in comparison. He seems a little bit more of a, well, he's less gaudy than the rest for sure, but he also has the Templar aspect, which for me is not a big thing. Like, obviously I have some Templar figures, but I never went crazy in those. I don't even really display a lot of them. I'm just not that big on Templars in Mythos, we'll say. However, there is a lot of cool stuff going on with this figure. He looks fantastic in hand, and it's another way for us to get a Valiant Knight style figure that is also very different from everything else that we've already got based on his deco. So let's see what he can do, see how he moves around. In that same vein, Valiant Knight, if you've messed with one, you know exactly what's going to happen here. So we've got a head that can look up really far. He's got that hinged neck. Down really good as well. Tilt side to side, rotation, all that good stuff. Arms out at the shoulders. They, of course, swivel. Single jointed, better than 90-degree elbow with swivel. Gauntlet swivel, wrist swivel, and hinge. The torso is a Valiant Knight torso, so he goes backwards, forwards really good, tilt side to side. Really great tilt side to side on that body, and swivel. Now, one thing to mention is the soft goods. The soft goods are not one piece. This is a separate piece. It's a shirt, basically, for lack of a better word, and it's cinched around the waist, so it kind of stays in place really, really well. But what it also does is it helps to fill out the torso and give him a little bit more, I don't know, beef, I suppose, compared to the Valiant Knight, because that torso is a little bit cinched in to help with that articulation. So it just sort of fills him out a little bit. I do like that. Legs go out. They, of course, kick forward. They're going to go backwards a little bit. You've got your thigh twist up there. We've got single jointed, that new articulation on those knees. They still got the swivel. You've got swivel at the ankle. And we've got hinge action, and then of course we've got rocker. So, I mean, again, if you've messed with a Valiant Knight or Adalric or Gideon in this wave, you know exactly what to expect here, but that's to say that he moves really, really well and showcases all of this updated articulation quite nicely. Now, as far as the overall look and feel, Elijah is definitely a little bit of a different kind of figure from Gideon and from Adalric. Both of those are they're very gaudy kind of figures. Adalric in particular has that crazy color scheme. This guy seems like more of a, battalion leader or a commander of a squad or something, and definitely still has like that sort of boots on the ground kind of look to him, if that makes any sense. He still looks like a regular knight. He just happens to have this Templar stuff on him. The Templar stuff, again, not my biggest thing when it comes to Legions. I do, however, really love the way that they have done the soft goods. The same thing goes for how they did Gideon's, because this is the same setup. So it's got this like shirt piece here. So you could take this whole thing off. If you want, you can take the shirt off and just leave the skirt piece, or you can take the whole thing off and he can just be, a regular kind of knight without the cloth on him. And he'll essentially be a deeper, more gunmetal-y color compared to a Valiant Knight. I like the idea of being able to pop that stuff off of him. I don't know that I'm going to. This is his character. I'll have him displayed at least like this somewhere. But I do really like the ability to pop that bit of soft goods off or mix and match pieces because of how they decided to do this. This is very different from, say, that Stavros, the Unwavering figure that I looked at not too long ago, where he's got an entire piece that covers his body and it's all one piece. These new tabards that they designed for the 1.0 standard figures are really cool in having those two different pieces. So I do like that. And it's also incredibly, this feels very premium, even more so than usual to me. Maybe I'm wrong, but it does feel a little bit more robust in terms of the soft goods. And as usual, all these pieces, because he's got 3 pieces here, all this stuff is, it's actually more than that. It's a bunch of different cuts that go all around him. So you can do a Marilyn Monroe thing if you truly want to get stupid with it. But he's got all of this soft goods here, and it really fills him out. But it also has a great texture, great feel to it. And the ability to pose all that stuff is always fun. It helps to make things a little bit more dynamic. Now, beyond that, he is overwhelmingly just a valiant knight, right? But he gets all of the treatment of being a standard figure insofar that he has all of this gold filigree pipework all over him. So all of the, like a lot of, well, not all of them, a lot of the dots and a lot of the line work has this gold trim to it, especially on the legs. I really like the gold line work on these legs in particular. It makes this figure stand out. Again, it makes him seem like a little more than just like a regular soldier. So if you want to have him leading a group of valiant knights or something like that, or your armory figures, that kind of stuff, that'd be kind of cool. He's got these fairly low profile pauldrons, which again kind of lend me to think that he would be, somebody that's in the thick of it, not necessarily just leading from the back lines. And then this is also a figure that really introduces, for really the first time, we've seen a little bits of it here and there. There's always been chainmail inside, like the elbows and things like that. But we've got this actual piece of chainmail neck guard that sits around him. You can take that off. It's a removable piece, of course, if that's not your thing. But then we've also got this very specific head sculpt that has a full chainmail headdress on it, which I think is a pretty cool idea, especially considering they gave him a fully helmeted head that you can use on top of it. So this is what he looks like under the helmet. And then when we get to accessories, you can see what that helmet actually is. But he also is one of the new figures that features a faceplate, so you can pop that out, and then we'll talk about why he has that later. But he does have the faceplate system, and I really like this head sculpt, this face in particular. I love the idea of having the chainmail stuff up here. But then, of course, this is one of the, there's a couple, but there aren't very many black figures in Legions, and it's nice to be able to get, just a little bit more variety. I know we have a lot of variety in the line in particular, but in terms of actual human characters, this just showcases that a little bit more. He's got a nice little scowl to him also, a little bit of a furrowed brow. So he looks like he, maybe isn't somebody you'd want to mess with, and he is definitely ready to throw down. But I love the idea of being able to pop that faceplate out and switch it with, at least in his instance for sure, the skeletal face, which is also very cool. But of course, this chainmail looks terrific. It's just chainmail, but it is really nice to look at. There's tons of detail. It's very lustrous. It shines when you hit it with light. So he overall, despite being maybe a less gaudy style figure compared to the other knights in this wave, I think he definitely stands apart and stands alone in terms of what he brings to this wave, just by virtue of being, well, again, slightly less gaudy, but maybe more distinct in his design. Now, as far as accessories goes, Elijah is another example of not only this wave, but the line in general going forward of figures that, in many instances, we'll say, are overloaded with accessories, just to the point where you have more options than you probably are going to need unless you have, a lot of swapping in mind, or if you have a whole bunch of figures you want to share parts with. He comes with more stuff than he can really use at any given time, which makes for a lot of options for this figure. So to start with, he does come with, as I mentioned, he comes with the extra faceplate. And, if I'm going to be honest right now, I've already said it a million times, skeletons are a huge thing for me in this line. I think he is infinitely cooler with this skeletal faceplate than with his standard one. Not that it's a bad faceplate or anything, but this looks great. I really love everything about this particular setup, how he is right now, with that skeletal face in there instead of the humanoid face, or the alive face, I guess we'll say. It's a really great sculpt, and in particular, I just think it looks really good, kind of wedged into that chainmail. Now, beyond that, he does come with, as I mentioned, an actual extra head. So this is his helmet. This thing's kind of like a Crusader helmet almost in some fashion, and it's very, very gaudy by comparison to everything else. So a lot of his, I guess we'll say, ornamentation goes on the helmet. So it's a very bucket style helmet, but tons of small detail and filigree all over it. A lot of that gold work with a red jewel on it. It also comes with a neck. So you've got an extra hinged neck here. If you want to use this on someone else or use the neck with somebody else, you've got the option with that. He does come with extra hands. So he's got the laterally hinged gripping hands on him in the box. You get a set of vertically hinged gripping hands as well. And of course, there are hands packs for this wave if you want to mix and match and get different styles. Then we've also got his actual weaponry. So to start with, we do have the shield here, which is, a newer style shield. It's still got the removable sort of doodad on the front, the emblem, whatever we want to call it. So you can pop that out and swap it with other figures if you want to do that. I've got the clip on it here. This is obviously a very Templar-esque shield with its ornamentation and its paint job, so it matches him. And of course, you could use this with the older Templars as well. He does include the actual grip, the handle. So you've got options. I love the clip still. I think it works really well. And I just like the fact that they're giving us both instead of just giving you one or the other. Makes it easier to do it how you want. When we've got some actual weapons here as well, he's got a small dagger with a sheath. This is just a standard dagger, brown, gold, silver. You can put that in the loop on his belt. We've got a long sword that does have a scabbard with a little hook on it so you can lock it onto his belt. It's a fairly standard sword, brown, gold, silvery gray, just like the dagger. But then as we've seen with this particular wave, we're getting more like, I don't know, Crusader style weaponry. So we've got a Warhammer here, and it's not as gaudy as some of the other stuff in this wave. And I think that goes with him as a character and maybe where he lies in terms of the story. So a very utilitarian weapon to bash some skeleton skulls in. I really like these just because they're a little bit different and we don't see a lot of this stuff in this line up until now. So it's cool to be able to get this kind of variety. And then he also has a little strap, and this is literally a little strap. It's one of the new very thin straps. So if you want to put that around his waist or sling it across his chest, you've got the option there just to kind of, maybe add a little bit of dimension to the chest rather than it just being that tabard, or if you take it off, it can, break him up a little bit as well. So he does have, a lot of stuff. You can make 3 distinct kinds of figures based on the heads alone, not to mention all of these different weapons, the shield, the whole 9 yards. This figure is absolutely stacked with a whole bunch of cool stuff. So yeah, overall, I'm really happy with this guy. He is a little bit of a sleeper for me in some ways. I wasn't all that excited about this particular figure from the outset. I was always going to get him, and I got multiple of him, which is, just what we do. But in hand, I'm really excited for this figure and the possibilities this one holds, because not only can he be some sort of a commander for your legions, he can be turned into a regular knight in a slightly different colorway with a little bit of these gold embellishments on him, and he'll look really cool on his own in that way. Of course, we've got the aspect of turning him into a skeleton, and again, he comes with an insane amount of accessories. He is a very much one of the kind of poster child type figures for this wave that is just overloaded with a bunch of really good stuff that can be used with him or across your other figures. So that's going to do it for this look at the Mythic Legion's Necronominus wave, Sir Elijah. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.